Let's get started by getting WordPress installed. To do that, you could go here to wordpress.org, find the download link, follow the steps, and just download the files right from their site. And that's fine if you're just going to casually FTP them up to a server. But we're going to be doing quite a bit more than that. It's working almost exclusively in a development environment, and here on the command line, I like things to be as quick and dead simple as possible. I don't want to be dragging files around through Finder or opening up a browser to install something. I need to install WordPress right from here. And if I can get all the necessary steps wrapped up into one easy command, that would be the best. So here I've created a new project directory, creatively called New Project for now. I'll be working here throughout the series. Let's make a public folder to separate our web root from the rest of the application. And we'll get started right from inside there. So let me show you two ways that we can download WordPress from the command line. Let's start with wget. If you like curl, that would work fine too. So just wget the latest tarball. And once the tarball is downloaded, okay, I still need to unzip and unpack it. You can see how it unpacked into a WordPress directory. And let me just clear the screen here. Then we need to move those files out into the web root. And then just delete the leftovers that we don't need anymore. And now we have WordPress added to our project. So this is a little better than downloading from the browser, but remembering and typing all those commands is too much work for me still. Let's make it easier. I'm going to turn these commands into a bash alias. If you're not familiar with them, aliases are basically shortcuts for the command line. I keep mine here in my bashrc file, which is right in my home directory. I've already got a few aliases in here. Here's one forcing ls to always use the color output. Here's another one to force makedir to always create the intermediate directories, which is a pet peeve of mine that's not the default. Let's create a new alias called wp install, and we'll do all the commands one after another. Now we don't have to remember the commands, but this alias is pretty long and gross, so I'm going to clean it up by turning it into a bash script. Plus, a script will let us automate even more things, which means even less work. So here I've got the same commands reorganized as a script. You can see we're doing all the same things here. We're downloading the files using wget, unpacking the tarball here, moving the files out of that WordPress directory, and removing those unnecessary files. Last, I'm just going to add some feedback messages in here, so we'll know that our script is really running, and we'll know when it completes. So let's go ahead and remove what we downloaded before, and we can see that our public directory is totally empty, and I'll run the new script. And there we go. And you can see that it's definitely our script because our messages are showing up. And now that it's a script, I can even add things like database creation or running MySQL commands, open up the WP config file in my favorite text editor, and I can add the database details. Basically anything else I can think of that I might need to do as a part of this process, I can add here, which makes this a great way to automate the installation process in a way that still gives me a ton of control over every step. If you don't feel like managing all of that scripting yourself, there's a second way to get WordPress installed from the command line, and it's called WP CLI. WP CLI is a fairly new command line tool for WordPress. If you've heard of Drush for Drupal, it's very similar. Both of them let you do a lot of things from the command line that you'd normally have to do in custom code or by clicking through the admin UI. WP CLI has a lot of built-in commands that are really useful. You can see a lot of them here on their website, wp-cli.org. I'll go over a few of these in later videos, but for now, let's focus on the WP core download command. You can get WP CLI by following these instructions here, again, at wp-cli.org. I have it installed, so let's give it a try. Let's get rid of the files we downloaded before, and let's just start with an empty public folder. I'll clear that. Now we can run wp core download. Once that finishes, it's done everything that our script was doing before. If we look inside public, we'll see here all the files are here, they're unpacked, there's no leftovers, no tarball. All looks good. So these are two great ways to handle WordPress installs from the command line, but they don't really help you integrate WordPress into your application. What I mean is that by default, all the files are dumped in your web root, leaving your configuration file arguably exposed. And by default, it creates this WP content folder where all of your custom plugin code goes, and it drops it deep inside the WordPress core. To me, it's kind of a mess, and it makes version control really complicated. For instance, should you really check in the whole WordPress core codebase into your own project's repository? In the next video, I'll explain how to build on these command line strategies by taking advantage of WordPress's incredible configuration flexibility, so that you can set up your project in a way that makes sense to you and your team.